Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance and reads, what will the government's spending priorities be? Priorities in Budget 2011.
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, the budget will press on with reducing New Zealand's vulnerability to foreign lenders, getting the government's finances in order, and building faster growth around higher national savings and exports. Health and education are likely to receive the bulk of new operating spending, about $800 million per year. In addition, there will be considerable expenditure in rebuilding Christchurch, particularly its infrastructure. The operating deficit could be as high as 8 to 9% of GDP per year.
Supplementary.
Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the Minister. Why is it important that the government return to surplus and stop accumulating debt within a reasonable timeframe?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, for a number of reasons. First, New Zealand as a whole, public and private, has among the highest levels of debt in the developed world, and the debt incurred with the earthquake would push us to the limits of our comfort. Also, if we can get hold of the deficit and debt, we'll be able to help keep interest rates low, which will help with the creation of jobs and higher incomes.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
To the Minister, why is he using the February 22 earthquake as an excuse for proposing cuts to working for families when the Prime Minister said he was looking at cutting working for families less than a month before the earthquake?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's no doubt that the earthquake puts extra pressure on the need for government to control its expenditure. But as we have done in the last couple of budgets, we're taking a considered and consistent approach. We're taking measured decisions, and the member will just have to wait, but there won't be anything too radical.
Craig Foss. I beg your pardon, the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
To the Minister of Finance, has the Minister of Finance seen comments by the Honourable Phil Goff at his press conference yesterday when he was asked the following, and he said, "I'm opposed to making changes to working families." The question to him was, does he think someone earning $140,000 a year needs help from the government? The answer was, well, the answer to that's probably no. Then asked, what about somebody who has two parents and has $70,000 a year? Answer whether they should have a change to working families. He said, I'm not going to go through that because I haven't worked through the detail. Mr. Speaker, has he seen those questions
questions
from...
long enough. The Honourable Bill English.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I have seen those, and I was embarrassed to read them.
The Honourable Leader of the Order. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, my question to the Minister of Finance, if the government breaks its word and cuts working for families, can he inform the House that the money that he would save cutting working for families for a couple with a joint income of more than $100,000 would only be about $27 million?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the government, as I said, is working through a considered process and making decisions. And the member can expect that we will maintain our principle of protecting the vulnerable and supporting New Zealanders through tough economic times.
Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order on my left here. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Point of order is this, Mr. Speaker. Do you believe that the Minister even attempted to answer that question?
Oh, I think the member asked the Minister whether he could confirm certain things would or wouldn't happen, and the Minister answering said a process was being followed, and I think that's we can't force the Minister to give a particular answer. Craig Foss, supplementary. Point of order, the Honourable Rodney Hine.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. I was wondering through you if we could ask the Prime Minister to table the transcript so the Minister of Finance's embarrassment can be more widely shared.
No, order. And I've apologised to the House being too slow to sit the member down. He knows that's not a point of order. Craig Foss.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Supplementary to the Minister of Finance. To the Minister, what factors will drive total operating spending over the next few years?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, what the government will be doing is slowing down the rate of growth of spending. Core Crown operating expenses will be around $72 billion in 2011-12, actually about $8 billion higher than 2 years earlier. This may be the Labor Party's definition of slashing expenditure. It's not ours.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister of Finance, what does he consider measured and considered about the following process? That he says last Thursday there will be no cuts to operating spending, and by Sunday the Prime Minister says there will be no new operating spending.
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, that's not correct. The Prime Minister signalled early in the year that the government would be tightening up on spending. We've said about a considered and measured process for doing so. There's no doubt that the earthquake has put more pressure on the need to eliminate some of the wasteful programs that Labor put in place so we can use the money for better purposes.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, the Minister has contested the presumption of my previous question. Therefore, I seek leave.
Order. Now look, the House is going to come to a little more order. The member knows if he's going to seek leave to table a document, he does not preface it with that kind of language. I'll give him one more chance to get it right. David Cunliffe.
I seek leave to table a copy of the transcript of Q&A on Sunday, which confirmed the Prime Minister's statement that he would be having no new operating spending in the
transcripts
budget.
of recent radio television programs. Craig Foss, supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Supplementary to the Minister of Finance. How will the government direct its capital spending in budget 2011?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, the government remains committed to the program of roads of national significance, as well as reinvesting in rail and upgrading the electricity grid and in rolling out ultra-fast broadband. And that's because we are committed to the long-term investment required to lift productivity and economic performance, and therefore more jobs and higher incomes.
Question number 4, the Honourable Annie.